What's up, everybody? Jack Var here on behalf of Box to Box Football. Of course, I am joined by James, and we're going to have a little discussion on Paul Pogba. Some comments have come out recently from super agent Mino Raiola, talking about Paul Pogba's future. 18 months left on his deal because Manchester United triggered a one-year optional extension there. I believe it was to Tuttosport in Italy, which led to a lot of claims that Pogba was going to go back to Juve. I can tell everybody it's not going to happen. Juventus do not have the money, especially with somebody like Ronaldo on the wage bill as well. So that's a no-go. My question for you, James, I guess, very broadly speaking, what do you make of the situation? Maybe you can touch on, has this been a success? Is this going to be best for Pogba, best for United, Mino Raiola's role? Just very generally, what do you make of all this?
I think I tweeted the other day, that Paul Pogba is the most hated player in the Premier League. And I generally do stand by that. But I generally do feel that one of the reasons why he is one of the most hated players is his agent. And he really doesn't help himself. When Sir Alex Ferguson comes out and says the reason why we didn't keep Paul Pogba in the first place is because his agent is a twat. That's that's what he actually said. Or a twat or an S-bag, whatever.
So basically, Sale Sharks, the rugby team, it's actually the club rugby team that I support, funnily enough. Sale Sharks had a thing on leadership, and I think some of the players and a lot of the coaches were there. And one of the guys asking a question was recording himself on his phone while he was asking him the question, going, "How did your scouts not know that Pogba was going to be this £100 million player?" And Sir Alex very quickly just goes, "Well, we knew that about Paul, but his agent is a shitbag." And then obviously everyone's laughing, but as we can see now, Mino Raiola has caused Manchester United all sorts of trouble, regarding multiple transfers.
And to me, that's the main reason why Erling Haaland is not a Manchester United player today. It's the exact same reason. Mino Raiola is his agent. Manchester United don't want to deal with him, and that's always to me been the biggest problem. I don't think Paul Pogba has been as bad as everyone has made out to be. In fact, I do believe that he has been the scapegoat at times with Manchester United. But I just feel like the way his agent deals with all this type of the way he deals with it is the reason behind all these problems. Maybe, and I don't know Paul Pogba like that. Maybe Mino Raiola says what Paul Pogba feels.
Oh, James, 100%, because Mino Raiola can't get fined. Mino Raiola can't get dropped or punished. Now, by virtue of being connected to him, he can get into some trouble. But obviously, he is the mouthpiece. And the reason why Pogba mentioned about the Real Madrid thing a month or so ago, when he was asked the question, would you ever play for Real Madrid? That's Mino Raiola saying, hey, you should mention, it would be a dream, maybe one day, who knows? Because you can hide behind the fact that you're not actually saying you want to join them. You were asked the question. And James, there's nothing stopping Mino Raiola contacting a journalist and going, can you ask Paul this question in the next press conference so he can give this answer? This is the way football works, ladies and gentlemen. This is what happens.
I genuinely do feel like Paul Pogba has made up his mind that he doesn't want to be a Manchester United player anymore. And I feel like it's due to the fact of what's going on overall. That even when he does good, it's not good enough for this Manchester United team. And maybe the expectations were a bit too high for him. People were looking at this guy don't get me twisted. Paul Pogba, his technical ability as a midfielder, he's one of the best midfielders in the world, but he just hasn't lived up to the height of what Manchester United want. He was meant to have the Bruno Fernandes impact, but at times he had it and at times he doesn't, and it hasn't really worked out for him at Manchester United.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Timmy, long lost friend of Box to Box Football. Hopefully we'll get him on soon. But Timmy posted the video recently on Twitter about Frank Lampard saying, Frank was like, yeah, Pogba's way better than me, but he makes these mistakes and he has these errors and this lack of discipline that Frank prided himself on. Frank Lampard didn't have a terrific shot or a terrific dribbling or ball control or any of these things. He was smart, he was disciplined, and he worked hard. That's why Lampard was as successful as he is. And he just talks about the fact that in Italy, and just to make this clear to everybody, Pogba wasn't the best midfielder in his team, let alone in the league or anything like that. He was playing with prime Andrea Pirlo. He was playing with Claudio Marchisio. He was playing with guys around him that could really, really help him. Vidal, they just let him kind of do whatever he wanted without the expectation. Few highlight clips, some really nice highlight clips, but he's kind of a YouTube footballer in that respect. Now, I'm not saying that Paul Pogba can't go to Real Madrid, PSG, whoever seems to be interested in him. I know he's been offered to Manchester City, according to a few sources as well. I'd love to see Paul Pogba and Kevin De Bruyne play together. I'm just putting that out there. But I think the reason why it hasn't worked out is he does not have the caliber of players around him at Manchester United to have this Bruno Fernandes role that Bruno now has, where he can just go and do whatever he wants to do. So, James, to ask you kind of a final couple of questions here, how much is a Real Madrid or a PSG or a team of this nature going to pay for Paul Pogba with either 18 months to a year left on his deal? And also, how much is he worth?
Well, Paul Pogba, looking at the ability, looking at his age, he's a £100 million player. Let's not kid ourselves. But with a year left on his deal,
coronavirus.
I generally look at this whole situation. For me, the only place that Paul Pogba should go is Real Madrid. You have an aging midfield with Toni Kroos, Modric, Casemiro. They need new blood in there. Paul Pogba can come to Real Madrid and then be the top guy for the next 4 or 5 years at Real Madrid. So for me, it will be Real Madrid, probably looking at an £80 million deal. I think Manchester United don't want to lose money on the player. For me, that's the biggest thing.
Real Madrid have not spent a great deal of money, which I tend to agree with you. I know PSG's been thrown around, but I think PSG are going to change their manager in the next 12 months or so. Kylian Mbappe, what's going to happen there? Rumours coming out today that Mbappe would be open to a new deal if he was given certain assurances about where the team was going to be in X amount of years. So I do think Real Madrid's the most likely option. I agree with everything you said. But I don't know if they're going to get 80 million for an unhappy player with a year left on his deal in a coronavirus market. I'm looking at more 50 to 60 million here. One thing that's interesting, James, swap deals never happen, but a lot of rumours coming out about Isco wanting to leave Real Madrid too. So I wonder if Isco's on the way out, and then you've got somebody like Paul Pogba on the way in at Real Madrid.
Well, 28-year-old Isco, who's been out of shape in the past few seasons.
James, he's still 23. He's still 23, I swear.
Listen, Isco's a wonderful talent, one of my favourite players to watch, but I don't feel like the value will work out like that. I genuinely feel like Manchester United are going to look at it. We just want the money back. I don't see them wanting to take that loss. But to be fair, if they are going to act on it, they probably should act on it in January. But again, you don't see big deals happen in January. It's hard to leverage yourself in the summer with only 1 year left on your deal. You see the way how much Arsenal have struggled with that when players with Alexis Sanchez, Sami Nasri. So it's going to be hard. So it's rather they have to act in this January or pay the price.
Couple quick fire questions then. Paul Pogba signs for Manchester United in 2016, 15, right? Success. He leaves in January. He leaves in 3 or 4 weeks. He's got a Europa League, a couple of domestic cups, and second place in the Premier League as a best finish. Paul Pogba to Manchester United in his time, a success or a failure? Or in between. I'm not going to force you to pick one or the other.
£80 million. No Premier League titles. I love Paul Pogba, but I think even he will say that it's been a bit of a failure at times. Now, it hasn't been horrible, don't get me twisted, because I think failure is such a bad word, like he's done horribly there. No, it hasn't been like that bad, but if you ask me success or failure, he hasn't lived up to what Manchester United wanted, and that was ultimately to win a Premier League or a Champions League. He hasn't done that, so fortunate.
So you said failure. If it was success or failure, I know that you probably land somewhere in between those two. His fault? Somebody else's fault?
my thing with the Paul Pogba issue is that we keep on coming to the point of view of, oh yeah, he has to play here, he has to play as a sitting midfielder, he has to play as a box midfielder, he has to play as a 10. Ultimately, it's down to Paul Pogba to make something happen. You just can't always say we have to put all different situations around him. At times at times the situation wasn't right, but at the end of the day, Paul Pogba needs to perform, and it's not Manchester United's fault when Paul Pogba's in the middle of midfield and tries to do a curve turn and loses it. That's down to Paul Pogba, and ultimately, you have to look at the player.
I think my final thing before we kind of close this out here is, and I said this before we started recording, Paul Pogba is in the wrong body. The footballing talent and the brain is in the wrong body. Body like Paul Pogba, you're looking at kind of a more athletic Vieira type. Now, Paul Pogba plays arguably the furthest thing from somebody like Patrick Vieira. And I think the problem is, if he was a little shorter, if he was a little faster, if maybe his finishing were a little better, you'd see him as maybe one of those inside forward, Bernardo Silva type, wingers, maybe an out-and-out number 10. But the problem is, with his size, with his strength, with his length, he has to play that 6 or 8 position that requires a little bit more tactical nous and intelligence, game intelligence, really. And wherever Paul Pogba has been successful, be it for France or be it for Juventus, Pogba has usually had somebody alongside him doing the dirty work. And one thing I'll always say is he's a fantastic watch. I always remember sitting in a pub with my friends watching the Man City 3-2 game where he scored 2 goals, I think, in the second half, and just going, here's this guy puffing his chest out. I think he dyed his hair blue for that game. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And everyone thinking like, it's the Manchester derby, you're dyeing your hair blue, like what the hell? I think Pogba's going to have it's kind of an unfortunate career in a couple of ways. He's a World Cup winner, but is a Champions League in the offing if he moves to Real Madrid? Who knows? Guys at home, let me know what you think. What do you think of Paul Pogba's time at Manchester United? Where do you think he's going to go? Is he even going to go? How much is he going to cost? Let us know if you disagree with me or James or any of our takes here. Comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.